This is Unit 2, number 3. Solve the following equation for y. The first thing that we need to do is find the variable that we're trying to solve for. So you're either going to box or highlight. Basically, you're going to tell me which variable are you looking for. So this one says solve it for y. So I'm going to draw a box around y. Now we're going to use inverse operations to get the variable by itself. So some reminders for us. The inverse operation of addition, if I see an adding sign, then I'm going to subtract to get it to the other side. And vice versa. The inverse operation of subtraction is addition. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing if you have multiplication. If you have two things being multiplied, the opposite or the inverse operation of that is division. Same deal, if it's dividing, then you're going to multiply. Now, one thing that you do need to make a note of is multiplying, there's no symbol in between them. We're used to seeing a star or maybe an X, but there's no symbol. It's just going to look like, for instance, 2x. This means multiplication. Okay, so we need to use inverse operations to get this variable all by himself. The first thing I notice is that I have a big old divide by 2. Remember, a fraction means divide by. And since this 2 is bothering the entire left side, I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 2. Okay, whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. That cancels out my denominator. I'm left with 3x minus y equals negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Going to go in here, make sure I'm still boxing or highlighting my variable. Now, if I want to get rid of a 3x, it's a positive 3x, I'm going to use the inverse and subtract 3x from both sides. It's okay if you tried to add it at first, because if you get 3x plus 3x, that gets you 6x, and that's not going to cancel this out. We want this to all go away and become 0. So I have 0 minus y, so I'm going to leave that negative y, equals negative 6 minus 3x. Okay? These guys are not like terms. You can only add or only combine like terms. So since they aren't exactly the same letter, and they definitely, this one's a number, this one's a letter, they don't match. So we can only combine like terms. This is done as far as I care. Now, the only problem I have is there's a negative sign in front of my y, and there's no negative signs in front of these y's. So if there is a negative in front of the variable, change all the signs for every part of the equation. So if I wanted this negative sign in front of the y to become a positive, then I also have to change the sign on the 6 and on the 3 to all be positive. So finally, my equation would look like y equals 6 plus 3x. I look at my answer choices, they're not there, but I do have one that looks very similar. They just reordered the x and the 6. So your final answer for this one would be answer choice B.